Well, hello, members. It is the TLP members only show, and we are away today. We're starting to head towards the pointier end of the table with 11th, 10th, and 9th last year in the championship. Let's get this review up and going. Hello, boys.
Howdy.
Hello.
Oh, less than 12 hours till game time.
Yes.
And we're up and away with another show, and we're up to 11th, 10th, and 9th in the championship today. What do we got? We got Paddy, you got Swansea, is that right?
I have Swansea. Yep.
Swansea, Aaron for Middlesbrough.
I've got
Borough. And I have West Bromwich, Albion. So, yes, here we go. It's all getting exciting now. People getting kits, can't get kits. People.
I figured I'd give it a week or two before I even tried.
Yep. Yeah. No, heading down to a store today to try and get a kit and get a kit signed even, hopefully, but we'll see who's there.
There you go.
I'm going to pop up a live show for everybody, all the members, so you know. It'll just be a very sort of quick impromptu around the store and showing people who's there. So yeah, it will be good. But today, what do we? Well, Paddy, you get a banger to start. You get a Welsh team.
A Welsh team, finally. Something interesting.
This will be, well, I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of feeling when we come up against Swansea. So I'm going to be interesting to hear the history and what you've got for us in line for Swansea today. So why don't we just get stuck straight in?
Well, it's about time we got some decent teams. You know, all those little stupid teams we're going to easily take out. You know, we want some decent teams here that might actually be a challenge.
And you heard it here from Paddy first. Anybody from those other teams that eventually comes in and becomes members and sees this show later on, go back at paddypower@gmail.com.
There's a reason these are private people. Because I say stupid shit.
Yeah, this is fun.
Okay, so we're going to go?
Yep, let's do it.
Right, let's see. I hope everybody's in because it doesn't look like it. But they'll just have to catch up. That's their problem. They'll catch up. Right, so let's start with a little bit of early history and the founding and all that I carry on that we do every week. Swansea City was born in 1912, so not even in the 1800s, 1912, a bit later than everyone else. And it was started by some cricket lads. Surprise, surprise. These guys looking for a new hobby because cricket is just the most boring piece of trash sports going out there. So anyway, they wanted a winter hobby in Swansea, South Wales, a coastal city famed for its beaches and proper Welsh grit. Apparently, don't quite agree with that, but anyway, those Southerners, they don't know what Welsh grit is. They joined the Football League in 1920 and became Swansea City in 1969 when Swansea became a city. Okay. Distance from Wrexham, we know it's in Wales, a little Welsh derby this season. It's about 150 miles on some dodgy roads, the A483. If it has 3 numbers in the road, it's not a good road. That's a simple way for any of any international fans out there. But 3-hour drive down some coastal roads, at least the scenery might be good. You're either going to get some sheep or some trees, or maybe if you're down the coast, taking the scenic road, that'd be quite cool. Okay, the team nickname is the Swans. So this season we're going to have the Dragons versus the Swans, and look, if you're gonna go by nicknames, they're fucked because Dragon is absolutely going to eat them some Swans. Okay, so partly because of their white kits, the majestic birds of the River Tawe, if I've said that correctly. I don't even know how to say that. TAWE. Fans also sometimes call them the Jacks, either from their sailor heavy past, the Jack being a ship's flag, or from a legendary dog, Swansea Jack, who apparently saved 27 people from drowning in the 1930s, if you believe that. 27 people just sounds a little bit excessive. But anyway, look, the Swans are the Jacks. Okay, history with Wrexham. Well, lately there hasn't been one. Like all the clubs, we say this every week. Unfortunately, they have been up in the top two recently, and we haven't. So not too much to be said there. Swansea have been a yo-yo club, and in the last 5 years, is it 5 or 7 years they've been in the Championship, but before that they were up in the Prem. And we'll talk about that a little bit later as I come down to my notes. Okay, local rivalries for them. Their primary rivalry is South Wales Derby, which is against Cardiff City, obviously, but no South Wales Derby next season because unfortunately one of the teams got relegated. So no 3 Welsh teams this season. What a shame. Okay, so in that Swansea lead 42-45 in games between the two, which is pretty good, pretty decent for them. They also have Newport County as one of their rivals, but unfortunately they've been down 2 divisions below as well, League Two, so they don't get to play each other very much either. Nothing interesting. Trophies, they have won a League Cup. They have won the Welsh Cup in the 90s, 60s, 1931, 1912. So a long history of the Welsh Cup going back when they played in them. Championship playoff recently in 2010-11. They got to the final and won their promotion versus Reading at the time. And we played Reading last year. FA Cup semi-final in 26 and 64, so a long time ago since they've been valid in the cup. Okay, their stadium, they have moved around a little bit lately. The Swansea.com stadium, formerly Liberty Stadium, is their home since 2005 after they moved. It holds 21,000 fans, so double what we have this season. But hopefully it won't be too long before we can outmatch 21,000. Give us 5, 6, 7 years maybe. And let's see what happens. Apparently, they make a lot of noise, the Jacks. Veitch Field was their home, but that's apparently a big thing. Everybody talks about Veitch. I have no idea. I don't even know where it came from, what it is, whatsoever. Interesting new word for me to learn today. Okay, last 5 seasons. In the Championship, 5 seasons ago, they came 4th and got to the final, and they lost to Brentford and didn't go up. And that was basically at the end of a 3-year stint after coming down from the Prem with some Premiership cash. And since then, they have been a very mediocre team. They came 15th, 10th, and 14th for 3 years in a row. And then last season, they weren't 10th. What was the last season?
Last season, 11th.
11th, yeah. I knew it was close to that. So a very middling team, actually. Solidly middling, actually. So a decent team, but unless they get on well with a new manager, they're not going to do much this season. So management is another problem for them over the last couple of years. They have been chopping and changing, which is kind of interesting that they have stayed so level in mid-table with all of that changing. Sorry, 1 sec, lost my notes. Here, okay. So 5 seasons ago, they had Steve Cooper taking them to the playoff final. Then the following season, Russell Martin took over in August, and he brought a bit of tiki-taka, but ended up with mid-table. The next season, Martin's possession game improved, but lacked a bit of punch, so no great improvement there. Then he was replaced by Michael Duff for half a season. He was then sacked for boring tactics, and they brought in Luke Williams, who's our old pal from League Two. And he steadied the ship but was then replaced and sacked and brought in Alan Sheehan. So they've been bouncing around managers, and will he get a lot of time? Interestingly, he became caretaker manager when they had no manager, and then they installed him as their manager. So it will be very interesting for him to see, can he steady that ship? He knows the team obviously reasonably well at this stage. He did okay. He had quite a few matches at the end of the season in order to show himself off, and he took the manager position, which doesn't happen too often. So maybe there's something about him, and we'll see if he can do any sort of revival and get them near the playoffs this season. Okay, nothing crazy about the investors. Since 2016, American investors Jason Levin and Kaplan own the majority, 68%. And holding Swansea City Supporters Trust actually hold 20% of the club. So they have a fan stake model for 20% involvement, which is interesting. But how does that work then if they need to actually gain more cash? Will they actually dilute that down? Because you're not going to go around and ask the fan to put in more money if you need to raise capital. But nice idea. I like the idea of fans being able to have an investment in their club. Not many get to do it these days. The new Alan Sheehan likes to lean on the 4-2-3-1, which is pretty standard in the Championship. Lots of teams tend to be using that formation quite a bit. So will be interesting to see how our style packs up against that in this season. And as kind of stated, their expectations for this season will be to push on towards playoffs. Mid-table would be the minimum. I would assume that they're going to expect and allow Sheehan to get away with. Will they fire him early if he doesn't hold up to that early in the season? Maybe not. Maybe he'll be on a sack watch very early. Yep. And that is pretty much it. I will have a quick look here at the transfers. So they've done a bit of business so far. They have 5 players. They brought in, for a transfer fee of 6.1 million, Zaidan Inusa from Hacken, which was interesting. Reported market value was 3 million, and they paid 6. They brought in Bobby Wales for 300,000 from Kilmarnock. Ricardo Santos from Bolton, who we know from last season, on a free transfer. Cameron Burgess is a big name for them on a free transfer from Ipswich. That was a good get for them. And Ethan Galbraith, and someone else we know from last season, Leyton Orient, they paid a fee of approximately 1.6 million to get him to come in. So some interesting start to their transfer window this season. Making a couple of moves, but they had a reasonable team to start with. Obviously, we're starting from a different position.
Yeah, a solid mid-table team, Peter, that's looking to sort of move up the ladder if they can. Hopefully, make playoffs this season. I would think would be their goal, wouldn't it? Yeah, you're right there.
Yeah. And we've already spoken how close they're going to be to playoffs until the last 10 matches.
Because
slowly shake out at 10 matches.
I mean, they only missed the playoffs by 7 points.
Yeah.
So they were right there, even though they're right down in 11th. It sounds like a long way off 6th, but it was only 2 wins and a draw. I mean, that's very easily turned around.
Yeah, and you come down to the last 10 matches, you got 30 points available. That's really where the rubber's going to hit the road for everybody, same as the last couple of seasons. You're going to be in with a shout. You need final form, which is going to be interesting for depth. Who has injuries, who went out and spent in the January window to boost their team and upgrade. But yeah, stay in with it for at least the first half season, get in a reasonable position, and then just push at the end of the season.
Yeah, and I sort of think they'll be anywhere between sort of 5th and 12th, somewhere in there would be my sort of guess for them this season. Don't know what you think.
I don't disagree with that. The one caveat for me is the new manager. If he gets things wrong, they could drop quite quickly. And this is one of those, how much pressure is he under? first chance at a championship team. We know how quick these owners are to drop a manager, and they've done it before. They've done it multiple seasons in the January time frame. So if he's not mid-table by Christmas, he could be in trouble.
Yeah,
but he should be able to, with the team he has, be in around that mid-table.
Yeah. No, fair call. I mean, Aaron, you got any thoughts on Swansea or?
Yeah, fuck them.
We do want to finish above them, don't we? I mean, they are the only other Welsh team in this. In this league
That's
season.
I've said this before. That's one of, for me, I think that's one of the goals we should set. We should be looking to be the highest placing Welsh team in English football, or in the football pyramid. Well, you know, English football pyramid.
Yep.
Technically, we're Welsh, but you know what I mean. In the English pyramid. So yeah, I think I think that's definitely a goal that they should be going for. We should be going for. So yeah, fuck them. That's what I say.
And this is the members only show. This is where we can say stuff like that.
They are a nice, interesting benchmark to start with. Because same as we did with Stockport. You know, you were kind of saying, okay, well, you want to be somewhere near Stockport because they were only a season ahead of us when we caught up with them. So we wanted to be close to them. And obviously we're pushing for higher places. Whereas this season, starting off, getting to Christmas, Swansea are a nice benchmark. They should be a comfortable mid-table team. Stick with them, outpace them. You know, are we way ahead of them? Are we in line with them? They're a good guide. Stick.
Well, there were two Welsh teams in the Championship last year, and there's two Welsh teams in the Championship this year. Yeah. Because the other Welsh team that was there is now down in League One. Cardiff, who we used to get shit from all the time because we were in the National League, and now
too many Welsh teams, you know, can't get out.
Yeah. Yep. They're down where they belong. Just to say, Cardiff's down where they belong.
Here's Aaron trying to really stir up some real rivalries. I love it. Yep. Yeah, no, I think that's fantastic. I mean, look, we've now risen to the second highest tier in the league. We're up against one other Welsh team, and it would be a great thing to finish the top Welsh team in the football pyramid. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. I will say for Swansea, I have liked some of their moves. I think they've for me, they've been one of the better teams in the transfer window early on. I mean, it's still early. There's still a lot to happen, but so far, I think they've made some really good signings. So
actually, yeah.
Cam Burke just being I think that's a solid signing on a free.
Yeah, they've had a nice balance to their purchases. But interesting that they did go for 6 million for Inusa from Hacken.
Yeah,
that's an interesting one.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it ends up. To be fair to them, I think they've done really well so far. So, and maybe that's just me stewing because we're not doing shit right now. It's driving me insane. But
yeah, exactly right. Sorry, I'm just taking care of a client thing there. All done. Yeah, so I think that's absolutely important that we start to get some business done for ourselves. So yeah, when you look at like Cam Burgess, obviously he's an Aussie centre back, and I really liked him. I was hoping we would get him, but that just didn't go our way, obviously. And Swansea's a great place to land for him in a team that, you know, is going to be there or thereabouts, like, you know, for playoffs. So we'll see how that all plays out. But, well, why don't we just move straight along? Seeing so, as Aaron would say, fuck Swansea. Before we get on to Aaron's team, Aaron, as I'm pretty sure you're the manager of Harry All Over.
No, I never met the guy. Never talked to him.
Guy, he's
I don't know why everybody keeps thinking that. I
can't find him. I can't find him.
As far as I know, Josh. Apparently, Josh has talked to him. I don't know the guy.
I can't even find the guy. The guy was in the desert.
I mean, he keeps saying he's looking for you. The way I took it, I thought you sent him out there or something. I don't know. It seems kind of weird.
Josh pays for a first-class ticket for that guy to Australia. Like, you know,
and sends him out to the desert. I mean, what the
I-
hell?
I had to schlep it down to Melbourne in business class. Like, you know. But anyway, moving right along. Borough.
Borough. Yeah, so Middlesborough, their nickname is Borough. So, that's exciting, I guess. Just Borough. And then they were founded in 1876. Almost 100. Is that what? Almost 150 years ago. Yeah. It'll be March 23rd. So March 23rd, 2026, they'll be 150 years old. So anyway, they play at the Riverside Stadium, capacity of 34,742. Steve Gibson is the owner and chairman. Rob Edwards is their current manager. They just hired him, 2 weeks ago, maybe. They had let Michael Carrick, I think. Is it Michael Carrick? Is that right? It's Carrick for sure. I can't think of his first name. They let him go after 3 seasons of, just out of playoffs, more or less. I think they expect better. And so they made a move. Of course, they finished 10th this past season. And ownership wasn't happy with that. So they made the change. Rob Edwards is a guy who he got Luton into the Premier League a couple seasons ago. He's I'll just go into a little bit on him. He played he got his start at Aston Villa. Up through their youth system. Went out on loan in 2003 to Crystal Palace, and then in 2004 to Derby County. Then he got a permanent move to Wolves. Made 100 appearances for Wolves from 2004 to 2008. And that's kind of where he had his best run. And also in that time frame from 2003 to 2006, he made 15 appearances for the Wales international team. So he's a ex-Welsh international. And then from 2008 to 2011, he played at Blackpool. Then he got loaned to Norwich City for a short time. Then made 17 appearances for Barnsley from 2011 to 2013. So I don't know if there's injury issues there because that's not very many. It's not a lot. He was a center back, by the way. Sorry if I didn't say that. Then he played at Fleetwood, played at Shrewsbury, and ended his career. He did get appointed to as the interim Wolves manager for his first management job in 2016. So he took a few games there. Then he went to AFC Telford United from 2017 to 2018. Then he did the England under-16s from 2020 to 2021. And then 21 to 22, he was at Forest Green Rovers. Then in 2022, he got to move up to Watford. Then made the move to Luton after their big run up to the championship. I think he took over them in the championship from 2022 to 2025. Got them promoted into the Premier League. They got relegated. I think he was fired before they technically got relegated. Before the end of the season, he was out, but he was their manager. And then he's just been named to Middlesbrough. So we'll see what he does. It did seem like I was trying to think of who it was. There was a link or maybe a couple links that we were linked with, and then they immediately got linked with because of Rob Edwards. I was trying to, I cannot for the life, I was hoping maybe it'd ring a bell to you, Patty. Because for the life of me, I can't remember who it was, but there was somebody like immediately as soon as they announced him that we were linked with, that they were real quick got linked with, and I cannot remember who it was. But yeah. So anyway, so that's Rob Edwards. That's their manager. He's I think he's a pretty solid manager. Obviously, he got a team promoted to Premier League, so I think they're probably happy with that. But I think for me, I think their ownership is looking. I mean, they want to be in the playoffs at least. and they want to be pushing. Whether they will or not, I don't know. Because it does seem, you do wonder if they're one of those teams that they just are. They feel like a team that's like, oh yeah, bro, that's a big team. You know what I mean? Middlesbrough's a big team, but then they just don't quite do it. Especially here lately. They now going through their history, they've only played 2 seasons in their entire the club's entire history outside of the top 2 tiers of the football league. So they've been in either, the equivalent of the championship and the Premier League, basically their whole history. But they've been in the championship for the past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 seasons. They had 1 season in 16 and 17, or the 16-17 season was a Premier League season for them, but they went straight back down. And then before that, there was another 7 seasons before that. But then in 08-09, they were in the Premier League, and that was a stretch that went from 98-99 all the way to 08-09. They were a Premier League team. Then they, before that, they had actually started when the Premier League was first formed. They were one of the founding teams, but they did get relegated in that first Premier League season. So they went down to the champ. Well, then it was called the First Division, which is really awkward. It's weird, but basically the championship, the second tier. They went down there for a couple seasons, and then we're back up. So, but before that, they basically bounced around. They just bounced back and forth between the First Division and Second Division. So I don't know if you could say that are they always a championship club? No, not really. I mean, they've spent plenty of time in the top tier, so it's not fair. I don't think that's fair. But I would say lately, when you think of Borough, that's a championship team. You know what I mean? So, yeah. I mean, they're pretty good history, really. I mean, they're a team that that you expect to be up and around it. They're always top half. You know what I mean? They just are. They don't have a lot of bad seasons. So let me go through some of their honors. So for the league honors, in the Second Division or championship equivalent, I'll say it that way, second tier. They've been the champions of the second tier in the 1926-27 season, the 1928-29 season, the 73-74 season, and the 94-95 season. They're runner-ups in the second tier in the 91-92 season, the 97-98 season, and the 15-16 season. They were playoff winners in 1988. And then down in the third division, which they've only been in twice, they came runners-up both those times, 66, 67, and 86 and 87. And then in the north, they were champions of what was called the Northern League back then, in 1893-94, 1894-95, and 1896-97. So 3 years in a row, they were champions of the Northern League. As far as cups go, they've been FA Cup runners-up in the 96-97 season. They won the League Cup in 2003-2004. They're runners-up for the League Cup 96-97 and 97-98. The full Members Cup, I have no idea what that is. Somebody may know. They were runners-up in 89 and 90. The FA Amateur Cup, so this is way back, 1894-95 and 1897-98. Now, here's a big one, though.
Any of those players in the current squad?
That probably not quite. Probably not quite. Parky might be eyeing them up, though. He likes some, he likes some old players. No, the UEFA Cup, though. So Europe, they were runners-up in 2005, 2006. So that was probably, one of their biggest, for them as a club, I would say that's probably one of those things that they probably talk about a lot, to be runners-up in the UEFA Cup. And then there's a couple other smaller, Anglo-Scottish Cup, 75-76, they won it. They won the North Riding Senior Cup, whatever that is, 55 different times since 1882. So I don't know what that tournament is, but they've won it a bunch. And then the Kieran Cup they won in 1980. Rich history. It's a big, they're a big club. Let's see. I did want to mention they did from 1903 to I believe it was 1995. Their stadium was called Ayrsham Park, I believe. So they were there for a long time before they made the move to their current stadium, which is Riverside Stadium. They're one of those teams that they've got a rich history. They've got, they're not. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know if they've got a ton of money, but they've definitely got money. You know what I mean? And when you've got a stadium that big, you're gonna and obviously they're putting a lot of people in there. They're probably close to filling it most weeks. You're gonna have money. And in a team that size, you're gonna get good deals, sponsorship deals and stuff like that. So I would definitely expect them. I haven't looked it up, but I would expect them to be probably in the top 10 as far as the money teams in the championship, I would think. But yeah, let's see, was there anything else I had? Oh yeah, the record against Wrexham. We have played 3 times, all in cup competitions. So on September 5th, 1972, Middlesborough versus Wrexham. Middlesbrough won that match 2-0, and that was a League Cup match. On January 26, 1974, this would have been at Wrexham. It was a Wrexham Middlesbrough. It was a 1-0 win in the FA Cup for Wrexham. And then December 11th, 1999, again at the racecourse, Wrexham won that 2-1 in the FA Cup. So we've actually got a winning record against them, 2 wins and 1 loss against Middlesbrough. That's basically what I've got on them. They're an interesting team. They're kind of a fun. I enjoy watching them. I don't know. It's weird. I think it's just because it's like, it's Middlesbrough. It's a big team. Like I watched them a few times last season in the, on Paramount Plus because we got a lot of the championship games. So I watched them a few times against like Leeds and against some of the other big teams. But they're one of those teams that I like to watch because it's like, that's a big team. You hear that name, it's like, that's a big team. I want to watch whoever they're playing, them versus whoever they're playing. Yep. So yeah, I really, Borough.
Well, you get to watch them against Wrexham this year, mate.
Yes, and that'll be exciting. I mean, that's going to be one of those. Like we're gonna have so many of those where it's just like, holy shit, this is the real deal. It'll be very exciting. So. That's basically what I got on Borough.
That's a good coverage.
I forgot. I did have distance to Wrexham. That's around 160 miles, depending on which way you go. That's about a 3-hour.
That's right in the middle of I/drive, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's. See, in the States, that's a quick trip to the supermarket.
Yeah, it's just the roads aren't as good there. The highways aren't like your highways.
160 miles.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's go.
I hear you. Same here in Australia, mate. Like, absolutely, you're definitely driving.
I know, it's crazy. I love it. Okay, so that's what I got on Borough.
Love it. Love it. I mean, well, that was 10th. Like, that was definitely. We're all in top half of the table teams now, and so I guess moving along, we get to me, and I had to do some homework in between, getting breakfast and doing everything else. West Bromwich Albion. So, they finished 9th in the table last season. A a club that is steeped in history and is used to being successful. Formed in 1878, were one of the founding members in 1888. They literally, their home ground's the Hawthorns since 1900. That's been their home ground, and the current stadium capacity is 26,850. While I'm on that, I'll cover off when we're talking about travelling. I might as well cover that off now. By shortest distance, 67 miles, but the highway they'll take, it's a 74-mile drive. They're just west of Birmingham. So that's definitely one we'll drive to, no doubt. They'll just hop in the bus and go. It's about an hour and a half. So, yeah, you'd definitely be driving to that match. They actually finished first in the top tier once, 1919 to 1920 season, and they've finished second twice, 24-25 and 53-54. So they've done very well. They've made 10 FA Cup finals.
Holy shit.
10 FA Cup finals and won it 5 times. So they won the first ever FA Cup, which was the first season, 1888. Then they won it again in 1892. And then we get into the 1900s. They won it in 1931, 1954, and 1968. So, to make the final 10 times and win it 5 times, that's, that's some great history. Obviously, none of those players are in now, but, they, some great history. Their longest stint in the Prem is 24 years straight, from 1949 to 1973, which massive. And again, they had another good long stretch. And their longest stretch out of the Prem is 1986 to 2002. So, they have perennially been a Premier League team that bounces down and sits in the very top of the championship and then gets back up and tends to have fairly long stretches. So, they're a team that's used to being successful. And they've currently spent the last, 4 years down in the championship, when they were only back up in the Prem for 1 year. They're back down in the championship for 2 years before that. But then they spent a good long run in the Prem, finishing as high as 8th back in the 2012-2013 season. So, they're definitely a team that's used to being successful. Yeah. They're going to be a tough team. Expect them to go well. Interestingly enough, their biggest rivals are Aston Villa and Wolverhampton, and they've played Wolverhampton in the Black Country Derby. That's a local trophy they play for as a rivals type trophy. You get that with a lot of these clubs. They'll have a crosstown rivalry type trophy, and that is a pretty normal thing to happen. But interestingly enough, when I dove into this club and their transfer history so far this off-season, they've only signed 2 players in the off-season. So all the Wrexham fans out there, that are freaking out, these guys have only, they've only signed 2 players. One of them, Nathaniel Phillips, interesting guy. He was a Liverpool player, but he hasn't played for Liverpool since 22-23 season, when he only had 5 games. He was loaned out to Celtic. He was loaned out to Cardiff City. He was loaned out to Derby County last season and played 33 matches for them with 1 goal. He is a centre-back, so don't expect him to score goals. And now he has been signed by West Bromwich Albion, so he's no longer a Liverpool player. He has been signed by them, and the other player that they have signed is, here we go, Paddy, you're going to love this. He's from Norway, Onselen Hagebo. And I've pronounced that, and I've probably butchered that massively. Massively butchered that. So it's just hilarious. So he was signed from Brann, which is an interesting, where he played 14 matches. He's a striker. Played 14 matches for them last season, scored 7 goals. So the season before, played 36 matches for them, scored 12 goals. So, this guy's a scorer. So interestingly enough, a very good signing for them. I don't know that they're saying that he was like his market value is 3.3. Don't know what he was signed for. Exactly the same for Nathaniel Phillips, market value 3.3. Can't tell you what they were signed for, to be honest, because who really knows? But here's the fun bit, boys. This is the bit I love about West Bromwich Albion. They only had 4 managers last season. 4 managers in a season. Can you believe it? And literally, their final manager, who was James Morrison, was only managed the last 2 games for a win and a draw, and is their manager for this season. So prior to that, they had Tony Mowbray, who did 17 games, 5 wins, 4 draws, and 8 losses. Then they had Chris Brunt prior to that, who did 1 win, 3 draws, 1 loss. And prior to that, at the start of the season, they started out with Carlos Cobaran, who did 8 games, 11 draws, and 3 losses. So they literally plowed through the managers last season. So, and it's funny, Chris just mentioned here, is the owner insane? Well, the owner is Shailen Patel, who's an American entrepreneur, who is the majority shareholder and chairman of the club. So interestingly, he seems to be a fairly good owner, except for this one anomaly last season in management. So I don't know what was going on there. So, yeah, they lost Cabrain. That's right, Michael. Yeah, and he is a great manager. But then they just went through the ringer trying to figure out something to work, and they didn't land on anything. So that, like, concrete. So it's going to be very interesting for James Morrison, who only did the 2 games at the end of last season, how it plays out for him this season. You know, is he going to last? Is he going to, how many games is he going to get? You know, is he going to hold the spot, or is it going to be more rotation? I mean, even with those 4 managers, they still finished 9th. And, you know, 9th, and where are we here? They were 64. So they were only 4 points out of the playoffs. Super tight.
Yeah, I think it was a bit of an anomaly for them, just because, like he mentioned, they lost Core. It wasn't like they fired him. He got taken
punched
by it was Valencia. You know,
I've never heard of him.
So yeah, so yeah, that you know, that's gonna happen. So yeah, but yeah, and he is a great coach. So I can understand trying to replace somebody like that is probably tough. But there was some people that were, I mean, the Tony Mowbray situation. I remember when that was being talked about. It seemed like their fans weren't exactly on board with getting rid of him. I think it seemed like there was at least a handful that thought he needed time, and they didn't feel like they gave him the time. You know, they would have liked to see him get the summer and see what he could have done. But I'm sure there were others that were like, yeah, get him out of here. So who knows? But yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, really interesting. So, I mean, I'm loving now the teams that we're covering, the 3 of us boys. You know, like, obviously we're into these teams now where you just know any one of these teams can have a serious run.
Yeah.
This is what I was going to say earlier about Middlesbrough, is they are currently your quintessential solid championship team.
Mm-hmm.
But looking at their results, they're not doing anything amazing. They're not hitting the playoffs regularly, but they're always close. They got 1 out of the last 5.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like this historical name. Oh, big club, hard club.
Mm-hmm.
But every season you can only have a couple of clubs have a good season.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. Like, we have more teams that you say have a solid name and solid history and could be a problem than there are places to actually be a team that is a problem this season. So they balance it out that way a lot. Like West Brom. They're a more solid team lately. They've had better results. They've been in the Prem lately. But once you get into this spot of 4 or 5 seasons in the Championship, and especially a little bit more than that, you've rotated all your team and you're no longer a Prem team anymore. You have every season after you've lost your money, you have to shave off your team, shave off your team, shave off your team. And now you're a Championship team.
Yeah.
And
you have to get investment to go back, Paddy.
Yeah. And I was looking at Middlesbrough because we were talking about, you were saying they should have money. Well, their wage structure for last season was about just under 25 million. So they are at the top end. They were in like the top 5 spend on their wages, but they're not earning that much.
Yeah.
You know, they've probably got good revenue, but if you look at all the teams in the Championship, none of them are managing to make decent profits. They're all being supported by their owners. They're all hoping to get back up. So there's danger in every team like that.
Yeah, I want to say, I think I saw a stat, and I don't quote me on this, but I think it's something like most teams are losing something like 500,000 a week, or is it a month? Maybe it's a month, maybe it's a week. It's either weekly or monthly, but it's they're losing a ton of money. Which, I mean, they just are. These teams are hemorrhaging money because they're trying to stay in the division. They're spending tons to stay in.
And to your point, like Middlesbrough, like you said, one of the top spenders at £25 million and finished 10th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so
this is
money doesn't equate to success.
This is what I'm seeing. Just having a gloss over the numbers is the teams that are willing to invest and lose money and get money from the owners are the upper teams that have the big history, that are staying there based on investment. The owners are willing to put money in. When the owner can't afford the money or doesn't have the ability to pay it, they slide and they start becoming mid to lower table. And that's what we've been seeing so far. There are smaller clubs, maybe not as much revenue, but don't have the support from the owners anymore. You know, maybe they've been doing it for multiple seasons. Maybe they've lost all their team basically and are slowly just getting worse and worse. So that's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, and see, most of these teams don't have an international following in the Championship. Like, they have some hardcore fans, and this is where I think Rob and Ryan, like, obviously with the international following, like if we spend 30 to 40 million on a team, we're still going to break even.
Yeah. This is the thing for us. Our revenues, if we do this multiple seasons, our team's just going to get better because we're going to be able to spend the same money every season. And at least, let's say, for the next 2 full seasons, our team will be getting better.
As long as I can get to buy kits today, Paddy, which will help like put money in the coffers.
Michael has an interesting point here, which is pretty good. Happened to Sunderland and Birmingham. So yeah, if you go back to Sunderland till I die, and the seasons that they were there, they got dumped down into League One and couldn't escape, and they were there too long. They lost too much money trying to get back out, and then they were screwed for the longest time. Eventually, they got back out, and then they escaped it with good investment, with good team management, but it took a long time. I would say Birmingham would have been in the same sort of scenario, but they had new owners just after coming in. They got the support. They ripped everything apart. They were willing to invest, and they managed to get straight back out, which is not easy to do in a lot of cases. So they could have been on the same road, but they got away with it. You can't sit too long in the lower division when you go down. You stay there a third year. The third year is usually the killer. Then you're screwed. You've changed too many players. Your wages are too high. You know, all of this comes in then.
Well, also the players that expected you to go back up.
Yeah.
Start
thinking, they might give you 1 season. After that, I'm out of here.
I'm out of here. I'm going back to a top level team.
Yeah.
If they can get like picked up by that team, obviously, but typically they can because they're your better players.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and here lately, it seems like that at the top, the three teams coming down have such an advantage because of the parachute payments, and it's almost like two of the three are going back up. Like it's just almost like it's gonna happen. Two of the three are going
Bounce.
back up,
Doing the bounce.
and
Doing
it's and maybe three of the three, but I don't think that's necessarily always true. And it's not always true. But
Yeah, it's the
two of the
playoffs that screwed the tree going
right,
back
yeah,
up.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, you get like so like this past season, you had Leeds who had it was their second season in the championship, and because they missed out on the lost in the playoff final the year before, and so that was their second season. So this season it'll be Sheffield United. Will they be able to challenge at the top on their second? They'll have their second year parachute. But it seems like they've got some issues going on. So that might open up another new manager. I mean, it's
New
not
manager,
perfect.
new owners, new
And I saw
system.
I saw a story. I didn't read all the way through it, to be fair, but I did see a story that was kind of based on them. Their budget for the team was going to be going down. Which you would expect it to some. But if they think they're going to be getting up, they're going to have to spend. I mean, they're going to have to spend because you got teams. I mean, we're all assuming we're going to spend a shitload. Birmingham's already spending a shitload.
Well, here's a question. Here's a question for both you boys. You go up, right? You go up into the Prem. You obviously don't have the budget of the Prem clubs.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the secret sauce is to be good enough to stay up that first year and then build on it from there? Is it money? Is it playing structure? What is it? What do you think?
Well, I think it's a little bit of all of that. But here, I'll be honest, I like the way Ipswich has approached it. They went in. If you look at the team that they built going into the Premier League last season, it was a championship all-star team. They basically bought all the best players in the championship. Not all of them, but several of the best players in the championship went to the Premier League. And it was kind of like, we know we're probably not going to stay in this division, but when we drop back down, we are absolutely going to go right back up. And so then you can build, then you start building on that, and playing that game of jumping up and down, and eventually maybe you get to where you've got enough money that you can stay in the Premier League, because it's I don't know, it does seem like the gap though is getting bigger between the teams that are the top, what it was, 17 or whatever it is, and then the three teams that come up. So it's I mean, I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. I mean, because you think about who finished 17th this year. Tottenham, right? Tottenham finished 17th in the Premier League. That's one spot above relegation, but they were nowhere near it. Tottenham's going to get, they're not getting relegated. Man United was 16th. They weren't getting relegated.
Imagine Man United getting relegated.
Oh, it'd be wild. It'd be hilarious. But I mean, just for the ribbing we could give Josh, it'd be worth the price of admission.
If you want to stay up in the Prem, you need to preferably have three very, very strong teams go up, because they need to be able to pull points off the bottom half of the table. And you need all three teams doing it, not just one.
But you need to be the best of those three teams.
And then you need to be the best of those three teams to slide out. That's one thing would be good in your favor. The danger for Wrexham if we go up is, or when we go up, right? Do you not expect them to go for it when they go there? I think they will. So what they'll need to do is they'll need to go up. They'll need to take all their money that they receive extra, and then they'll need to sell their 15% of the club and bring in another 100 million. And then they need to put that in as well into the team. And then have a fighting chance. But if they don't make it, they're going to screw themselves, just like everybody else. So the most preferable way to go up before that happens is to actually stay in the championship for 3 seasons. Because of our revenue, we can get stronger and stronger and stronger. Then we can take it out in the top 2 and go up. We need to go up with a strong team as well as then spend the money to make it even better, so that all your team that come up are the best of the championship, but they become your bench and your depth. And then you start buying in some of these top end players.
I'm at the point now where I think it doesn't. I think the chances of staying up in the current conditions, with the current rules, the current financial rules, I think to stay up, especially for a first year team up, you know what I mean? Like not a team that's been going back and forth, but a team, you know what I mean? For us, a team like us that hasn't been in, and this is our first shot at it. I think the chances of staying in the Premier League would be so minuscule. That's why I think like the way Ipswich approached it, they spent a shitload of money, but they weren't buying Premier League proven players. They were buying championship proven players, like the best championship players. I know, like, it's interesting. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do it. I mean, it just comes down to money, but I do think the financial regulations right now are just.
Before we get on to Scott's question, the other part of this that I thought you guys might want to cover is the style of football that we play. You know, that Parkinson and his team that they play. Is it the style of football where you can get away without spending as much money because you graft out those 1-point games through the season, and you jag an occasional win? Is that the better style of football going into the Prem to be a chance to stay up than trying to play like everybody else?
I think here's what's funny. This is my opinion on this. This is hilarious because everybody, and John will say you can't play that style of football in the championship. It's got to be a better style of football. It's got to be better. But as soon as those teams get into the Premier League and they're playing, possession-based football, they're getting smashed.
Yeah.
They have to play the style of football that we play to be anywhere near staying in the Premier League. And so
that's what I think.
So I think if you could get a team built in that style and get it promoted, I think you're in a better, you have a better chance
Paddy,
of staying in it.
Yeah. So Paddy, if you have a strong defense, Paddy, like that's a great style of football, and you have a couple of strikers that have just blistering speed that can hit you on the counter. Yeah. Is that the team? Is that the style of team you need?
It is. It is, because the problem is teams coming up from the Championship are not built for the Premier League. We've just said it. They come up as the best of the Championship that can hold the ball, keep the ball, and dominate the other teams in the Championship. But then they go into the Prem, and the other teams can do it better.
Yeah.
And they get absolutely hammered. So then what you need to do is you need to switch your team completely to defensive mode. And they don't have time to do it.
Yeah.
So
20% possession is a thing.
Yeah. And
welcome Esteban. Fantastic that you remember. Great to see. I haven't popped that up there. Good on you, Esteban.
So yeah, if you can get up playing a defensive style, you already are playing the style that you need for the Prem. Yeah. So can we just play our style, pick the very best in the most important positions? Because the way we're playing it currently, not every position is needed to be the absolute best. Every position needs to be solid defensively and work as a unit, but we don't need every player to be amazing. So yes, we might get away with having 4 top end players if we could afford it, to get around these sort of scenarios.
Yeah. So now let's move on to Scott's question, because I think this is a great question.
Yeah.
Talking about revenue and the league's financial restraints, in reality, is our income solely based on sponsorship, or is it supporter income / revenue impacting? Where do we stand on sustainability? So,
Okay.
I mean, I'll throw to you boys first. What you want to tackle in? Like, there's a couple of parts to that question, to be honest.
Yeah. Go ahead, Patty.
Okay. We are not sustainable for the level we are currently achieving. So that's where it comes down to. If we stay in the championship for, let's say, another 2 seasons and build our squad to a proper championship level squad, then we could be sustainable. If we lost the revenue from Welcome to Wrexham and that side of it, if they dropped by 50-60%, we are making money everywhere else. We're making money on the shirt sales, we're making money on the stadium, but we wouldn't be able to support it to the high levels we are at the moment, and probably over time that might slip back. So either we could become one of these solid mid-table teams, or in the long run maybe slide back to a League One team but be solid in League One forever. But that does depend on how much we lose after Welcome to Wrexham goes away,
Yeah,
and it's hard to tell, but we're making decent money for the long term.
Yeah, I tend to disagree with you there, Paddy, on that.
Okay.
I think we're sort of sustainable at this level. Like, I think we can be a championship. We can, with the revenue that we've earned, because remember the last year's figures were the League Two figures.
All right, so let me just interject this stuff,
Okay.
and this is where I'm going to agree with Patty.
Okay.
Hey, take Rob and Ryan and the documentary away today. Are we sustainable at this level? No,
not yet.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
That's where we've got to build up. That's why when you look at the team I did in Middlesborough, their stadium holds 34,000. Okay. We're going into the season with 9. You know what I mean?
So,
obviously we're building a cop. We know that it's coming.
Yeah.
But those are the things that we've got to improve so that because eventually the right now we are getting bigger deals. So United, all right, we wouldn't have got United as a shirt sponsor in League Two if it weren't for the documentary. We're getting better deals because they are able to exploit the documentary.
Agreed.
You're not, once the documentary goes away, and it will at some point. I'm not saying Rob and Ryan will ever go away. Rob and Ryan will go away, but eventually TV runs its course. They're going to, you're not going to have the documentary forever. And so when it does, then you've got to be able to sustain the money that you're bringing in when you can't get as good a deals as you can right now because of the documentary.
Yeah,
So
no,
I
agree.
think that's how you got to look at it. You've got to look at it that way. To me, in my opinion, I think you have to look at it long term, knowing that eventually that's going to go away. So we've got to build, and that's what they've said. They want to build the club up, and that's what that's why all this stuff, all the off field, off pitch stuff is so important.
Yeah. So we have. So I guess to reaffirm both your boys' point, you have to build on the momentum we have now.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously going to America last year, coming to Australia this year, I'd love to see us go to Asia. And I think Birmingham has stolen a little bit of the gravy there and signed a whole heap of Asian players. If they go to Asia, they'll get a massive following. Asia's an untapped market. It's so many, it's billions of people, and you get in there. And because I think the secret to being sustainable is to be international.
Yeah.
Because the greater Wrexham area is only 170,000 people.
Right.
So you have to be international. You have to get you have to sell 100,000 kits in Australia. You have to sell 1 million kits in America. You have to do that, and you have to get those supporters. I've paid for my membership for this year. You have to get those people willing to pay an international membership just to support the club in order to keep the revenue coming in, if the welcome to Wrexham goes away, then you have to have a fanatical supporter that's willing to watch games and not just live off the back of, a United sponsorship because they're unwelcome to Wrexham.
Right. Yeah. Agree.
Also, there are other things that can be done as well. Let's assume we lose welcome to Wrexham because we've just grown to where we kind of can, right?
It runs its course.
It runs its course, yeah. It gets a little boring, stale, whatever. But we still have Rob and Ryan. You could then pivot away from doing Welcome to Wrexham and actually get Rob and Ryan to produce their own show, maybe move to Paramount or somewhere else in order to produce it cheaper and go more football based. So the idea is that now this new documentary is no longer welcome, join us. It's supporting the people that are already here and keeping the international fan base slowly dripping off if it is. So they can also provide stuff like that as well to extend the life of this as well.
So I'll give Josh his props here, like where he says, like, Rob and Ryan, they're storytellers. So, the whole Welcome to Wrexham telling stories around the club is good, but you can sort of see it has its finite, like I mean, there'll always be some stories, but I think to your point, I think the fact that, if it was more football based, and when you think about it, like people are talking about, like a comment up back there, Tio, or someone said, we don't even have training facilities yet. Like, well, they're coming, and they're coming now, and the academy is building out, and now we're seeing ex-players and current players running academies, and there's obviously a business plan around that. What you got to remember is what we know is 3 steps to 5 steps behind where they are. Yeah. And I think if Wrexham does become, and I'm not saying the size of, but if they do become a Man United style, Liverpool style, Man City, Chelsea style club that has a big international fan base, that is when, the Cop's finished in 18 months from now or 2 years from now, ready for 27 season. It's, the next stadium is already, like, when the Cop is finished, I would almost guarantee the next stadium will be announced. The next stage. Yeah.
But that the Cop is also a double stage. Let's not forget as well. Yeah. So it's the 5,000 initial, which we know they're going to sell out instantly. We're going to be max capacity at 15,000. So as soon as they verify that we're selling out at 15,000, the planning permission will already be in order to add on the next phase, which is the extra 2,000 seats above. And I'm assuming that can be done in a summer, in the off season, because it's already designed that way. So that will then be 17,000. And then from there, new planning application has gone in. That might take 2 seasons before they're ready to consider knocking down another stand or redeveloping or whatever they're doing at that stage.
I think it'll be quicker than that. I think the applications will go in earlier than that. Like they'll go.
Well, they can have them ready in advance potentially, yeah. But that extra year of having the planning and doing the 2,000 potentially get in, but it's a brand new planning application and they're a nightmare. The bloody UK is an absolute nightmare for that.
So I mean, look, it's gonna be interesting to watch those. So I guess to round out Scott's question, where do we stand on sustainability? Sustainability depends typically on the level that you're happy to be at. And they've stated they want to be in the Prem. So sustainability becomes a very tricky question because it's big money.
To get real sustainability, looking at the growth we've had, you must stay still for multiple seasons. Because once we're in the Championship and we don't have any particular new expenses to be dealing with, everything flatlines on cost, but our growth is still going up each season because we're still in that growth phase. So then you will become truly sustainable because you will have a big income and your cost base won't be going up, but it has been going up every single season for the last 3 because we've been getting promoted. So this is how we potentially have the shot of getting into the Prem, because once everything levels out in the Championship and we spend 3 years here, we could potentially be a real big financial force for the first time in the Championship, actually earning and spending our own money. Because by the time we're taking out first and second in order to get automatic promotion, we are going to be fighting with the parachute teams off our own money. And then when are they going to go to try and stay up in the Prem? I still hope that they actually take the bounce. I still think they will likely need it. Go up, don't spend all your money, don't go ridiculous the first season, bring up an absolute monster of a Championship team, have a free shot at the Prem, see what you can do without spending all the money, most likely take a relegation, come back down, reinforce, go back up again, then, which is what everybody wants to do. They want to do the double bounce, straight back down, straight back up, then invest all your money because you've had your parachute payment, you've had a year up there. Now it's your second season up there with all this money, plus the revenues that we will be generating ourselves, and then potentially selling off part of the Prem as well, part of the club because they're in the Prem. That might be the way to do it. But I think they're going to risk it first season up. That will be a scary ass season.
How do you feel about all this, Aaron?
What's that? I missed that.
How do you feel about that whole scenario?
I'm with Patty there. I think what Patty just laid out there is probably the way to go.
Full of knowledge, fountain of knowledge.
Well, I mean, I think that's the most realistic way to do it. I mean, that's why I said I think that's basically what Ipswich have done, more or less. I think they may have spent a little more than what Patty's suggesting to spend, but I mean, but realistically, they've kind of made that. They build a team. They build a team that they knew when they come back down, they're going to have a top championship team. They should be going back up. Scott, to Scott's point, Luton. So they kind of did a similar thing, but they kind of undercooked it. Yeah. So they didn't spend a ton of money because they're trying to build a stadium, which is it's understandable. So they didn't invest with the year they had in the Premier League. They didn't invest a ton. I mean, they did. They spent a bunch of money, but not all of it. They didn't spend as much as they could. But then when they came down, they lost enough players and didn't replace them well enough in the championship, and then end up going down. I mean, just fell apart. They go down.
They weren't good enough to go up in the first place.
I agree.
In the grand scheme of how good are their team, values, all this sort of stuff. They gelled together. They got to the playoffs. They got a great playoff run, and they got up, and it can happen to anybody. So that's the thing. If you go up in sixth, then you don't really deserve to go up. It's the playoffs. It's the way it works.
Playoffs, yeah.
So they didn't, and then they went up, but then they didn't invest.
Yeah.
And then they came back down, and they didn't invest enough.
Invest enough, right? No, they didn't.
So they completely screwed themselves. They should never have gone down.
Yeah.
But that was a comedy of errors that made them go down. Yeah.
Yeah, that's bad. Really bad.
Yeah. So I mean, look, it is interesting, isn't it? I mean, that parachute money enables you to build that squad up and make it stronger and stronger. So I'm a big fan of, like Paddy said, living in that bounce for 2 or 3 seasons to build up your squad. Obviously you got to get there first. I mean, and if that doesn't happen, let's say you are privileged enough and lucky enough to go up and stay up. Well, the money's still there. It just means you're building then, and then you're sort of fighting that sort of from 15th to 20th position, trying to stay up until you're strong enough to maybe start, moving your way up into the mid-table in the Prem. And
sorry, Scott, put in another comment there. Would I be happy with that? What exactly would I be happy with?
Yeah,
just fill it out a little bit more, because I think I get you, but I'm not totally sure.
I mean, look, put it this way. if we're in the position where we're fighting to go up, I'm going to be super happy, super happy.
Yeah, if we're anywhere near it, that'd be great.
If they're going to go for it first season, that they're up there, and I think they probably will. In my opinion, you would be better off if we got unlucky in the playoffs multiple seasons. If we were a very strong team, but parachute teams or whatever pipped us for a couple of seasons with the top two, we ended up in the playoffs 2 or 3 seasons in a row and lost in the playoffs and didn't go up, and basically we're building a war chest with real big revenues. That we had a solid team. We don't need to go crazy on players. Save money. At the moment, I think maybe Birmingham, like they're in a different scenario too. But maybe I think we're probably the only team that can do it with our own funds if everything keeps going the way it is. That we could actively put aside 20 million every season, 25 million in that kitty for the day we get up into the Prem. We've an extra 100 million to spend on top of all
the revenue. The revenue from even being in the Championship from TV money is so much better now too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
than what we had previously.
It's a chunk, yeah.
Yep. So like it's way better than anything we've had before. We've basically done all this promotion with no league revenue TV money, if that makes sense. Yeah. We've done it all with Welcome to Wrexham money and exposure. Right. And even though the club doesn't get money from Welcome to Wrexham, it gets the benefit of the sponsorship.
Yeah.
And
the other thing as well actually is the ones that do benefit from it are Rob and Ryan. So
they should.
But the thing is that keeps them sweet, let's say, in their investment in the club. So the club itself is making paper money. It's worth more if you sell it. So it's a great investment for the future. But the Welcome to Wrexham side of it is probably giving them their cash money, that they're actually making money from the production side of it. So they're sweet on both ends.
Yeah. And if you remember last year's financials, the club paid back all the money they owed to Rob and Ryan. Yeah. The club now has zero debt. So they've gotten so if you look at the timeline from when Rob and Ryan took over, when they taken a club that was on the brink of collapse, which is and the fans had done an amazing thing to keep the club alive. They've ponied up the 2 million. They've gone and spent more money. They now have a club that has no debt, a new stadium coming, and is in the Championship as opposed to the National League.
Yeah.
So it's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. And they are going to do the same again. This whole thing about reaching out and trying to value the club at $350 million or whatever value they were trying to do. The reason they're trying to do that is because they want to know how much money they can get for their 15% share that they're going to sell when they're in the Prem. When they need that extra money. I guarantee that's their strategy.
Well,
if they can get 300 million now, what are they going to get when they're actually in the Prem? You know what I mean? So it's going to jump as well.
Well, why don't I play devil's advocate here? I do agree with you, Paddy. I think they'll sell off a percentage. But let's say they don't, and they really go and try and do it without that to try and keep the ownership as much as possible. Now, I know that's serious dollars, but it's a really good Deadpool movie. It's that there's. I don't think it's feasible, but is something like that possible if you're trying to just build on it without having to sell off a percentage of the club?
Okay. If you, two options here. Okay. Will they, in this scenario, are they going to get their 350 million if they sell in the Championship? That they're looking for now.
That's the total value of the club.
Total value of the club, not selling for that value, but total value of the club. Do you think they'll get that in the Champ on the on hope and dreams for Prem?
Okay, so I'm a billionaire, and I want a piece of Wrexham, right?
Do you think they'll find someone? My story's going to follow from that.
Here's the question that I ask as a buy-in. If I'm buying this 15%, I need to understand what you, Rob and Ryan, are going to do in terms of keep adding the value and promoting the club, because I'm just a money guy. You guys are talent. You guys are marketing experts. You guys are the exposure. I'm just a rich guy that owns a yacht that wants to buy part of a football club.
Yeah, they're going to keep doing what they're doing.
As the buy-in, I want to make sure that I still have the Rob and Ryan.
Yeah, let's keep it simple. Rob and Ryan, no major changes. You're coming in purely for money.
Yep.
Or a group, a consortium, whatever. If you're happy that they can make their valuation of 350 million in the championship, right? Then the way it works is this. Are they going to sell their 15% now, get their valuation of 350 million?
Which is 50 million.
Which is about 50 million. And the reason they're pitching you to do this is they're saying, this is going to be our war chest. We're going for it. We're pushing very quickly. And they'll do it, let's say they'll do it next summer after they've proven that they could survive in the championship. They did okay. They got near playoffs. Now I want to supercharge it. I want your 50 million. We're going to push it into the team. We're going to get up into the Prem. Is that a better way of doing it? Or are they going to wait until they're in the Prem and then try and get a valuation of 450 million on the understanding then that we're hoping to survive? But if we don't survive, we got parachute payments, we want to try again.
So that
where do they sell their 15%?
So or that number, your 50 million goes to 65 million if you're worth 450, right? But then I bring that back and I go, okay, so now I'm Rob and Ryan. And you go, well, if we're going to sell for that, that's 50 million. And remember, our League Two revenue was like 40 something million. You know, I think we're going to be 40 to 60 million last year, somewhere in there. I think mid 40s, I think maybe 50. If we had a great championship season and we got 50 to 60 million in revenue because we've done better exposure overseas, got more revenue.
I'd say 60 by the end of this coming season.
Well, okay, so 60, then that's more than 15%. Is it enough to do it yourself?
Not in one season, but over 3 seasons, yeah. That's
there's my thing about wholesale versus no sale.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think they plan on doing it themselves. I think the fact that's gone out there, that story leaked, that wasn't an accident. Mm-hmm. That was one of those leaks that were like, oh, hey, by the way, we're shopping this. You know what I mean? That's how that story got out. That wasn't an accident. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that was like, hey, make sure this story gets put out there. You know, so they're shopping it.
So, Aaron, do the three of us need to get together and open a joint bank account and get this thing going? What are we going to do?
I don't know. I mean, I might need a different job before trying to buy into that, but.
Do we need to go, or do the three of us need to include Josh in on this?
Yeah, maybe Josh money might help. You get some of that Josh money in on it. Help. But I mean, he's sending Sasquatches to Australia first class. I mean, it's loaded. It's loaded. I mean, but well, no, I don't think there's been enough talk about it. I think they always knew once they got to this point, they're going to need more investment. I think the Allen family was the first bit of that, and I think it's just going to continue. I think it's going to get more and more. I think they will continue to front it. You know what I mean? I think, and really, when you listen to people talk about, like a financial expert talk about it, the club is worth so much more with Rob and Ryan connected to it than it is without. So it doesn't make financial sense to come in and buy the club from Rob and Ryan, because it probably immediately loses value without them connected. So what you do is you buy in, let them still be the front, you know, they're still running it, you know, they're the front men. It retains its value, but you've just got a piece and you've got a better chance of making more money.
Here's a great example for you of the value of Rob and Ryan and Wrexham, right? The game tonight is at Marble Stadium. It seats 55. Let's say they get 40,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the cheapest ticket's $55. Most expensive ticket is $595.
Yeah.
Now, if I work on $75 a ticket, and they get a 40,000 turnout, that's $3 million.
Yeah.
It's funded by Victorian government.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's how these events are funded. The local area pays for them to come.
Right.
It brings in tourism. So they don't have to pay to front up a stadium. They just get revenue from ticket sales. The local government gets revenue from people like me spending 5 days in Melbourne, going to restaurants, going to different things, going to the game, spending my money in their town. So, that's $3 million at 40,000 people at $75 a ticket. Melbourne Victory get a percentage of that. And they would get the minor percentage of that. There's a possibility that this is a $2 million exercise for the one game. So that could be a $6 million preseason tour for 3 games.
Yeah, real quick, Esteban asked what story was that? That there was a story in was it Bloomberg? Was it Bloomberg or was can't remember. I think it was Bloomberg.
Yeah, I think
but
Bloomberg.
It was basically the story was Wrexham are shopping the club, a percentage sale in the club. So they're looking to sell about 15%, but at a valuation of 350 million. I think it was 350 American
dollars. Yeah.
So what they're not saying they want to sell the club for 350 million. They want to sell 15% of the club. They're evaluating the club at 350. So you're buying whatever 15% of 350 is what you'd be paying for it. And that's what they're trying to do.
52.5 million.
Right. So so you're spending 52.5 million to get 15% of the club, basically, is what they're looking to do. And that was what, 2 months ago, maybe? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Been a little while back, but yeah.
So it's interesting, this whole financial exercise, and these are the sort of deeper dives that we can do on our members only shows that we can't do on the public channel because not everybody wants to listen to this stuff.
Yeah, I want to bring up Scott's comment here because I think he's misunderstood me. If we went up next year, then did nothing in the transfer window for 3 years, then we'd be back in League Two with parachute payments. Okay, Scott, I wasn't saying spend absolutely nothing. What I was saying is don't spend the extra money. Don't spend the parachute payments, or at least not a large percentage of them. Save your money, save your extra resources that we have from staying in the Championship for multiple seasons. I wasn't implying nothing, spend no money.
Paddy, do you roughly know what a parachute payment is at the moment? What it was last season?
Yeah, it's 60 million for the first season.
60 million. Okay, so let's say, like we said, let's say we made 50 million this year, and all you did was use your revenue and break even.
Here's the other thing. We're talking about parachutes, but when you get into the Premier League, you get over 100. What is it, 110 right off the bat is the TV money, I think. So you've got to
plus loads
think
of
about that too. So
and
you're going to have that also.
Payments
and then
at the end of the season for your position. You're talking closer to 200 million.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. You get a lot of money.
And then another 50 million when you come back down, another 40 million for year 2 if you stay down, if you don't come back up immediately. So
if you think about that, Paddy, there's these teams getting like 150 million first year out that are back in the Championship. Like they haven't stayed up.
Yeah. What do they do with that money? Yeah.
Oh, and they've had a taste. That's why there's that bounce going on that we're all talking about. Like it's just the inequity of the two divisions. This is the biggest gap between Premier League and Championship.
Yeah,
everything else gets closer and closer the further you go down the pyramid.
Yeah, I agree. Esteban, your question about the loan. So a loan from your ownership. So basically his question was, I guess I can bring that up. His question was, why is it a loan? Wouldn't it just be an investment from your owners?
Two options.
So what you do, basically, they're just protecting themselves. So they'll loan money to the club, and the club has to pay that back
with interest.
with interest. So they got paid back within. I think it ended up being what, 15 million in loans.
Yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
14,
Paid
7,
back.
just right on 15.
Yeah, and so that's been paid back. They've got their money back. They got their interest on it, whatever the interest rate was. So they made their money off of that. But you basically, yeah, they're the owners, and you can invest, like an owner can just put money in and
Sheffield
just write it
Wednesday.
off, and say, yeah, I mean, you can just throw money in, and I'm not getting that back. But the way they were doing it, they wanted to make sure they got their money back, because I think they knew the way the club was going to go. It wasn't going to be hard to get their money back out. It was a way for them to get their money back out and not really be. They're not in for anything for Wrexham. Like, they're not. They've made so much money off this. They've already made a shitload of money off this deal. So
and this leans into the sustainability question earlier.
Yeah,
it's sustainable.
Yeah. It's definitely sustainable. It's just at what level and with which, what's the ownership model? What model is sustainable at what level? You know what I mean? That's the.
So, I mean, look, to take that to the extreme, is Liverpool sustainable where they are now? Yeah, I mean, as the best team in the Prem, and the answer to that is yes. They're bigger numbers. But in order to stay sustainable at that level, you have to keep winning. You have to keep being successful, otherwise it drops off very quickly. Look at Man U last year.
Yeah. Yeah, it can go quick. I don't know. I'm just so fucking excited about this season.
I'm pumped. Cannot wait.
I'll tell you what else. I'm sore. I hurt really bad.
From what?
From a demolition derby. My son tried to kill me. All right. I'm just going to throw that out there now. My son, if you're in the.
Were you in the car with him?
Huh? I rode passenger with him. Okay, so here's what's funny. I'll have to show pictures in the Discord. The front driver's side is straight. Rear driver's side, straight. Front passenger side, the front bumper's against the front tire. Rear passenger side, back bumper's against the rear tire.
Yeah, what do you do when you're learning? You keep the crash away.
Yeah,
from
he's like, I'm gonna kill Dad. We're gonna run into cars and we're gonna do it on Dad's side. That's what he did.
You need to teach that kid some balance. You take hits on all sides.
I reckon he's just smart.
Tell you what,
I just reckon he's smart.
We had an absolute blast. We had so much fun. It was a
How big was he smart?
Oh, it's huge. It was funny. We got second place, and come down to us in the last car, and I thought we had it won, but we ended up coming down to the end, and the made the last hit, and then the motor shut off, wouldn't start back up, and the other car hit us a couple times, and so they were able to, they won. And I go, dude, that's awesome. I go, you got second place, and he goes, I did? I had no idea. Kid had no idea that there were like the last two cars left. Everybody else was already out. He's like, I did? But he was excited because he won $500. But I'll tell you what, dude, we got hit a couple times. Okay, so it was a youth class, but they allowed 11-year-olds up to 17-year-olds.
Yeah. 17.
So there was like 5 or 6 17-year-olds in this class that were like, they had no business being in there.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, they lit me up. The first big hit we took, I swear, every bone in my back popped. Like it took the breath away from me. Just, I was like, oh God. It was hilarious. I'll send a link. There's a link to it on somebody posted a YouTube video. You can see us a little bit in there. I'll post it in the Discord too. But yeah, I'm sore. I've been sore all week. I've been hurting. But so that was fun. But anything good? Anything else happening? Are we signing anybody? What's happening? I'm kind of out of the loop with Wrexham, to be honest. we had the whole derby going on, and then I've been working. I just haven't had a chance to look at much, so I'm kind of out of the loop.
Well, Lewis O'Brien's being rumoured that it's close to deal, but we'll wait and see. I'm not sort of saying on anybody, to be fair.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I think it'll come in the next week. I reckon there's going to be something happen while they're away, and yeah. So we'll see. I mean, it's interesting. Well, I'm 3 hours away, guys. There'll be another show in 3 hours where I'm going to pop in live.
There you go. Oh yeah, what time is it for you right now, Ken?
9:30 in the morning.
9:30 in the morning. Yeah.
Yep. So I'm going to pop out to the kit launch at the Ultra Football Store in Melbourne.
That's awesome.
There'll be a whole heap of Wrexham fans there, no doubt. Hopefully, I'll get to interview some people live, which would be cool.
That's great. That'll be great.
And Scott's asking, what's my first beer going to be? Well, my first beer is going to be, if I get the choice, it's going to be a Wrexham lager.
Well, there you go.
Full stop. It's not going to be a Tooheys. I'm not going to drink a Tooheys. That's a New South Wales beer in Australia. So it's one of the states in Australia. I'm not going to drink that. I'm going to drink a Wrexham lager. I'm going to support my team. Yeah. Yeah. And so we had that. Then we're going to a pub in the lead up to the match. So going to get to the pub about 3 p.m. and stay there till about 5 p.m. for 2 hours. Then from there, walk down to the stadium. Only be about a 600-metre walk from the pub to the stadium. Get some, hopefully, tour down under merch outside the stadium, and then head on in. So Hip Carmel lands in about an hour and a half in Melbourne. I know Matt Boswell's already here. JP's already here. There's fans. There's TLP fans already in Melbourne, and looking forward to having a great day.
That's exciting. Should have another article being posted to the channel soon if he hasn't done it already. I sent it to him last week, and then Josh forgot to put it up, I think. I'm not sure. So, or maybe I just wasn't clear, and I don't know if he knew it was necessarily done, but it's done. So we should have another article up anytime. So all the members can check that out. It'll be in the posts or I think is that what it's called? The post section. Josh will post that, and it'll be on the members portion, or it'll be for members only on the YouTube channel. So, it's a fun one. It's
What about you, Paddy? What time's the game for you, Paddy?
12:30 in the afternoon.
Oh, perfect.
It's 2:30 in the morning now for me. So I'm off to bed. Stop talking.
and are you getting out of bed to watch the game?
Oh yeah, I'll be up in 8 o'clock in the morning.
It's the game. I'll be starting my drive to work when the game kicks off. So
work.
Yeah.
You're looking a bit peaked there, mate. Are you a bit sick? You gonna need the day off?
No, I might, but no, I'll probably end up. Well, actually, I can't afford to. I got these kids. These kids cost me money. That's the problem. So I have to go to work. They want all these derby cars. Now he's done a demolition derby. Now he wants another one. I just went and picked up another car last night for my youngest because he wants to do it. Brandon wants to do it now. So yeah, these kids are financially ruining me. So I have to go to work.
No, that's fantastic. Well, look, boys, I think we might get out of here. What do you think?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. Guys, thanks for tuning into the members only show. Next week, we are moving up the ladder. We have Millwall, Blackburn Rovers, and Bristol City. So that they are the next week's teams. We're really getting up there now. We're 8th, 7th, and 6th. We get our first playoff team.
Ooh.
Yeah, from last season. So there we go. So, guys, if you're going to watch the match, which is on in 10 hours from now, I hope you enjoy it. I know I will. I'll try and bring you some more footage of things that happened today. On that bombshell, we'll see you all next time.
Take care, everyone. Good night.
Bye, everybody.